What's up, everybody? We're back with another episode. Today, I have a gentleman who's absolutely been crushing it, top of the leaderboard last month, which would have been July. Probably would have been top of the leaderboard a few other months too, but we didn't even have the setup going yet. But yeah, none other than my brother Johnny. I wanted to bring him to the stage, bro. Thank you for hopping on today, bro.
Yes, sir. Absolutely, man.
100%. So, as always, man, I like to hop in and a lot of this information I don't know. So, I actually want to know, bro, like, take me back. What got you into life insurance? What were you doing before that? Tell us a little bit about like how you got here, bro.
Yeah, bro. Thanks for having me. I came from the door-to-door space, and I guess before that, I was in college. I was going to a trade school. I was originally going to get into HVAC and like doing utility services, and I always had the mindset like, dude, this is not for me. Like, there's no way I'm going to be doing because I didn't want to live a life of mediocrity. And I definitely didn't want to live the life that like all my friends around me from high school that went to college with me were living. And that was partying every day and then just going to go get an average 9 to 5 job. Everybody was just bound for that average path. And I knew for a fact if I just rolled with them, I'm going to go down that path. I'm going to be miserable when I'm, 50, 60, 70. I'm going to wish I would have taken action. So I was always self-teaching. I was on YouTube. I used to say I went to YouTube University and not an actual trade school because like I didn't pay attention. I was always on YouTube or ChatGPT and like, how can I make money outside of what I'm doing? And on YouTube, I was just like searching, how can I make online money? Because that way of making money always had me intrigued because it's kind of funny because I went to trade school to where I was going to trade my time and do manual labor and trade my time for dollars. But at the same time, I was researching ways to make money online, so I didn't have to assert any type of physical labor. You know what I mean? So that was funny. But I was researching, and I always found like if you want to make money and separate yourself from people around you, you need to get into real estate. That's what I always found. So I'm like, okay, so real estate is the path. This is what I see 9 out of 10 millionaires making their money from is real estate. How can I get into real estate if I don't have capital? So that led me into sales. Like I figured it out, sales. But that led me down another path of research. Like, okay, what sales vehicle do I need to get into? And thank God I had a friend that sold door to door, and he was from my high school. I actually recruited him into life insurance. Funny enough, so he recruited me into door to door, and then I returned the favor and recruited him into the best business that's out there, and that's life insurance, right? But door to door, I hit the ground running for sure. And it's funny because I use a lot of the training techniques and just philosophies and stuff like that for life insurance when I recruit new agents in that I used when I was teaching myself the ways and the loops getting in the door to door because nobody taught me really in door to door. I was still in my dorm or my apartment back when I was in college and I was training myself how to sell and what I found is it's all communication. It's all learning how to talk to people. It's a people-based industry, really, sales in general. And what really relieved myself was the fact that it's not something I had to be born with to be good with. Be good with communication, be good with talking to people, just be good at sales in general is something that you just acquire, like shooting a free throw, like scoring touchdowns like I did in high school, stuff like that. It's a skill. So I'm like, all right, if this is all it's going to take is just sharpening the iron every day, getting better, learning how to talk to people, getting uncomfortable, learning objections, stuff like that, I'm going to be fine because I'm just going to put in as much of that as it takes to become good. So I hit the ground running with door to door. I started on a Tuesday, and in door to door, you knock Monday through Saturday. So in 5 days, I sold 17 grand in pest control. First week ever, Tuesday through Saturday. I'm like, I didn't know what was good. But when the week was over and I was at the top of the leaderboard in Des Moines, Iowa, in my office, and I was like, "Is this good?" Everybody's like, "Dude, you're that guy," and not really like they weren't glazing me like that, but I found out like, dang, I'm like actually kind of good at this.
Hey, yeah, yeah,
I was throwing up 2, 3 pieces a day. I'm like, okay, I can do this, and then I sold 64,000 in pest control my first month. I'm like, all right, sales is for me, but I don't know how much longer I want to. And I wasn't thinking this necessarily after my first month, but towards the end of the summer, I was realizing last summer that like sales is for me, but this isn't sustainable. I was FaceTiming my girlfriend all the time, my girlfriend at the time, and I was like, I want to go home. Like, I'm getting burnt
yeah.
out. Like, I'm making money, I'm making more than I would have if I worked a 9 to 5, but I'm like, this is brutal for my mind. I felt like I was pretty sharp up here because I think that's part of being an entrepreneur. You got to be really sharp with the mindset. But I felt like I was deteriorating in door to door, and I just realized I had to make a change. So Cole, obviously you know Cole Jackson.
Yep.
He was my guy in door to door. He didn't recruit me. He wasn't even in my hierarchy, but we were boys when we were knocking door to door last summer. He finished up the summer in like I think 2 months before me, about a month and a half before me. But we had talked on his last day before he went home about what his plans were. He's like, I'm gonna get in the life insurance space. I'm gonna try it out. I got a buddy from college that's doing it. And we'll just keep in touch. I'll let you know how it goes. And so a month later, it's actually postseason. I'm still knocking. I'm in a completely different state. I'm in New Mexico. And I see his story, and it's the end of his first week, and he's closed like 3 or 4. And I'm like, so you mean to tell, like, how's it going, bro? And he told me about it. I'm like, so you mean to tell me that you're making more money than I am, and you're brand new to the business, and I'm relatively good for a rookie in door to door, and you're doing this from the comfort of your home? Like, you get to control your own schedule. Nobody's your boss. Like, all right, I'm down. And what really sold me is because I knew I'm married now, but I got engaged. I knew I wanted to get engaged last winter. So I had a couple months. I'm like, one, I need to save money for a wedding ring. I wasn't really making that much from door to door because you get most of it in your back end. And then two, I knew that if I wanted to get married, I didn't want to knock another summer. Like, because like we would have been freshly married, and then I got to pull her out. I knew we were going to New York if I knocked another summer. Like, it just doesn't make sense. And so what sold me was when he was like, you can do everything I'm doing. You're probably going to be better than me at sales because, like, statistically, I sold a little bit more than Cole, and you could do it from the comfort of your home and never have to leave your girl. I'm like, all right, I'm sold. Let's hop on a call. Like, I actually recruited myself. Cole, I love Cole. He'll tell me he recruited me, but I recruited myself. I literally, and I'm actually like this with anything when it comes to shopping for an apartment or a car. Like, if I just go and I find out more about it, I'm like, I'm not shopping around. Like, I'm a one and done guy. So with Cole, and I would never go anywhere else. I love where I'm at. But with Cole, I just recruited myself into the business because he was only 2 or 3 weeks in whenever I got started. Whenever I started like working on the pre-licensing, I went to the Ignite conference last October. I think it was October. And it was funny because I had moved to Utah to knock another summer. I wasn't knocking, but it was to train with my door-to-door company. I signed a 6-month lease, and Ignite was coming up. And I hadn't been licensed, but I was in the course. And I'm like, I think I'm pretty committed, but I need to stick with this door to door at least before I ditch door to door. I want to make sure life insurance works.
Right.
And so it was literally 2 days before Ignite. I think it was the last day of September. Ignite was on the 2nd of October. I texted Cole. I'm like, let's go to that Ignite. We weren't going to go because I'm like, I'm 1,400 miles away. And I texted him like, let's look at plane tickets. Let's just see what it would look like. And I had just got back from the gym. We have really only like 8 hours to decide because then I'm going to have to hop on a flight and go. And we decided to just book it. I didn't have much money in my account because I hadn't got any back ends yet. We went to Ignite, and at Ignite, man, I was sold. Like, that's why I'm so passionate about obviously the business, but when I get people into the business and it's like we have Ignite literally in a month from now, and I'm like, I'm getting everybody to Ignite because the effect that it had on me coming into the business is I was sold right away. It was in Florida. I lived in Utah. My upline from door to door was in Utah. I shot him. Actually, I texted him. Probably wasn't done the right way. Should have called him. But I texted him before I even left Florida to go back to Utah. I was like, hey, like, I appreciate everything you did for me, bro, but like, I'm not going back to door. I have to go all in or go home when it comes to life insurance. I can't pour in half of my time into you guys and train for door to door, but try to sell life insurance. It just doesn't make sense.
Right.
I know I'd be leaving performance and money on the table by doing it that way. So I forfeited all my back ends. Literally, the only money I made last summer was like 25 grand from what I made up front because I didn't get any back ends. And I paid back my bonus. And I'm like, dang, man, I only got like I think it's 5 or 6 grand in my bank account. And I'm like, I got to make it work. And what I'm not going to do is I'm going to get licensed immediately. So when I get home, I'm going to schedule my tests, get licensed immediately. So that's what I did. But I also was like, I need to make this work quick. And yeah, people that come in with the business with 5 grand, you might think that's a lot, but it's not a lot if you invest in like fresh leads and have bills as well. Like, I wasn't living with my family. I had $2,500 a month in expenses because I grew up in foster care, by the way, if you didn't know, Trey. So my foster family kind of dropped me on my head a little bit as far as when I went to college. We cut that tie. That string was cut. We didn't talk anymore. It was kind of toxic. I'm glad we cut that string. because I'm where I'm at now. I don't really regret anything. But what I'm getting at is I didn't have anybody paying for anything. So I had a truck payment, rent, food, insurance, stuff like that. And I wanted to buy fresh leads because I wanted to make it work. I'm a big fan for new agents. Like, if you need to ascend in your skill set before you spend a lot of money on leads, because I do think that needs to be equal, that's fine. Start on age leads. But for me, I'm coming from door to door, and I'm confident that I was a killer there. And if I can sell a product that people don't need, I'm doing it face to face, and I'm doing it on their doorstep, I can sell life insurance over the phone when somebody feels uninformed. So I instantly went to, can I say lead vendors on here? Because
Yeah, you can.
I'm not gonna shit on any vendor because I never had bad experiences, to be honest. But I sold my first 2 policies back to back on my first 2 phone calls ever, and it was FX. I was running final expense leads, and it was only for like 1,000 AP total for the 2. But as soon as I did it, I'm like, holy cow. I just calculated my commission. I started out at 75 plus a 9-month advance. I'm like, all right, I just made $600. That would have taken me 6 pest control sales. And I just did that in my first 2 days. Like, this is crazy. And so, yeah, you asked earlier, like, you told me to explain my come up, or like, did I fall on my face when I first got in the business? Honestly, without any ego, like, I didn't. I haven't sold less than 20K a month since I've been in the business. My first 2 months were 20 back to back. Last November and then last December, I was part-time though. I was still in Utah. With holidays, I got engaged, Christmas, stuff like that. But again, I was close with Wes, or I wasn't close with Wes, but I knew Wes from the Ignite. Obviously, I met everybody at Ignite, and I had that little connection. And Wes was talking about an office in Nashville. And so I'm like, all right, when's it going to be open? He's like, probably like January. It should be around the 1st.
Yeah.
I'm like, all right, I'm gonna pay for my lease in Utah because it gets up. It was a 6-month lease. It ends in March. But I'm like, I can't wait until March. Like, I'm going to be so behind if I wait until March, April to get into the office. People would have already been there for 3-4 months. I'm going to be behind. And I have a cap if I'm selling in my bedroom. So I keep the lease, and then I go and apply for an apartment. And I did no looking. This is the thing, like I mentioned earlier, I didn't do any research. I signed up for a total trap house apartment in a horrible area in Nashville. Just being straight up, bro. Like, there was gunshots everywhere, police, siren, like every single night. It was hard to sleep. But I signed another lease in Nashville because I thought the office was going to be open on January 1st. It didn't open until June 23rd.
Yeah, I know.
There, right? But I was just so committed, bro. I saw the vision. I see the vision still. And that's just how I roll. I'm just like, I want to speed run this. That's why my wife's always asking me all the time, like, are we doing good financially? I'm like, yeah, we're doing great. Like, cash flow is good. But just so you know, like, I know the reason you're asking is because I don't have hundreds of thousands saved up. The purpose of that is because I'm trying to invest everything back into the business, leads on my guys, housing, because that same apartment that I initially got, I don't live there anymore, but I have the lease for new agents that moved to Nash. So I pay for that. And yeah, I'm expense heavy right now, but it's good because that's going to help me speed run to success. Not that I'm worried about making money right now and that I'm worried about being successful and being a billionaire or anything like that by 21. I'm not worried about that, but I'm a big fan, a big believer by learning from people's mistakes, like Wes, like Jay's, everybody that's above me that's learned from wrong. I'd rather just be in person, figure it out from them, so I'm not making those same mistakes. So we make decisions pretty quickly, and I think that's what separates a lot of people. I think what separates a lot of people, I tell all my agents this, is the thought between, or the speed, the time between thought and action. So that's why I'm just huge on just go. But yeah, I mean, success when I first came into the business, 20K, I was ripping final expense leads with Go back-to-back months. I did 20K. And then January, as soon as I got in person, we were all dialing in Wes's house. It was like 25 of us. It was so fun. But I ripped 50K that month. And then every month I just incrementally got better. I went from 50 to 60 and then 78 one month, which was March. It was actually March. And then I hopped on your leads. And because it's like I was learning new processes with you guys, and it was a completely different lead type because I was doing final expense the whole time until I hopped on with you guys. You were my first ever vet like type of lead that I ran. And obviously it went down. I haven't wrote 78 yet, but I mean, that was submit, and final expense chargebacks are horrible. So I faced a lot of business not even placing, and then some chargeback on what placed already. So I'm like, this lead type is now working for me. So April, I hopped on y'all's leads, the vets, and I've been ripping ever since. So yes, sir.
All right, perfect. So I got a few things I want to break down. So you talked about your first 30 days. Cool. I feel like now listening to you, I want to talk a little bit more about mindset. So because you didn't struggle in your first 30 days, but I know you probably had agents or you've seen it, what is your recommendation for a new agent in their first 30 days to, put them in the position where they can write 40, 50, 60, 70K? Or what are like some tips, tricks, or like even just habits and processes that you've implemented yourself or even given to your new guys for those that are watch this?
That's such a good question. And I could go off on a spiel like about as equivalent as I just had for just that question. So I'll keep it short. I think number one is just because you just entered the life insurance space and you train trying to get into it, you learned objections, you like role play with your upline and stuff, that should not stop. Actually, it must not stop just because you enter the space because like you're dialing now. I think you need to be really intentional about training when you first enter the business so that you can incrementally get better every single day. And then you can start investing in fresh leads because you ascended in your skill set and now you're selling more off the age leads that your upline gave you. And now you can invest in fresh leads, which kind of leads into my next point. Obviously get better every single day. It's kind of a cookie cutter answer, but it's so true. I'm just such a big believer in training in your mindset and then just training with skill set. If you're not role playing, if you don't have lead flow right now, no leads are picking up. I tell all my agents this, go role play until you get more leads. Like find a way to get better. And then on top of that, like I said, segmenting into my next thing here is just you got to get on fresh leads as quickly as possible. I do think that is why I started out hot, is because I've never had to dial age leads ever. Part of that had to do with like having a little bit of money saved up, like $5,000 can take you a long way. And I invested like 2 in my first month. Obviously saw ROI immediately. But if you can just match getting better every day with investing more in leads, you're going to start selling more. I always tell my agents, like, if you want to make more money and you have the bread to do it, spend more money on leads if you think you can actually close it. How do you know if you can close it? Well, do you believe in yourself? And do you feel that you're getting better every single day on the phones? Because I never recommend to an agent to invest more in leads if they're not good on the phones, because like you're just going to drop out of the business in 3 weeks because you're not making money. You're spending money on leads you're not selling. So I always tell them, make sure if you're getting better and you're investing in leads that I'm going to say, if I tell my agents that I'll never lose money spending more on leads. That's what I was trying to say. Right. If you want to make more money, spend more money on leads. Sean, Mike, Jay, everybody will tell you that. Like it's the math doesn't math if you spend more money on leads. And if you feel yourself getting better, the math doesn't math that you make less money. It's actually impossible. And you're going to have months, right, where you might sell a little less, but like numbers are numbers, stats are stats. There's always going to be an average. So that's what I'm a big believer in. Let's see. Yeah, just lead spend, man. Spend more money on leads and make sure they're fresh. Yeah, you can. There's teams out there that build agencies on age leads, but like I don't believe in it for an experienced rep. If you value your time, which is why I'm a huge advocate for like screw door knocking, even though it built the skill set. If you value your time, you should want to talk to people that just filled out a form instead of dialing the phones. Because like I'll have agents under me. One of my actually he's my brother. He's only been in the business for 4 weeks. He'll come in here and be like, "Hey, I just dialed 800 leads today or 800 dials a day." I'm like, "Damn, that's a lot of That's a lot of dials. I've probably only dialed like 200 in a day max, and that was when I first started." Like, I know for a fact that's not what the business is about. The business isn't about dialing 800 to 1,000 dials a day. It's just not. Yeah, you're a hustler. Like that's cool and all. You have the work ethic, but I value my time. I want to grow the business and other aspects, which is recruiting, marketing, stuff like that. I won't go off on a tangent because I want to tailor it to a new agent. But like, if you get on fresh leads as quickly as possible and you value your time and you're intentional about that, you're going to sell so much insurance. And it's going to allow you to. The reason most people get into the industry is because they want that freedom. They want that time freedom. They want the obvious locational, but locational freedom as well. If you value your time, you're going to get on fresh leads. So you can sell more in a shorter period of time and then go focus on what's important for you. That's what I always recommend my new agents.
100%. What is your schedule now? I'm an agent. I'm trying to be just like Jonny. Walk me through just from the moment you wake up until, you go to bed. Walk us just high level.
Yeah.
What does kind of like your schedule look like?
Schedule.
What are you doing on the day to day?
Okay, bet. Yeah, I'm a big Hormozy guy, and he says less is more. And I used to be the guy that would like have a whole entire checklist routine, and I'm being a literal checklist where if I didn't check it off by the end of the day, I was like mad at myself. Now I'm just like, all right, let's stick to the basics. Wake up early, go to the gym. I skip post workout like meal. I don't eat after. I just go right to the gym basically, and I eat a couple hours into the day. But I go to the gym, wake up at 5. Go to the gym, be in the office by 7:30, 8 o'clock. It fluctuates with traffic. And then we'll have a morning training at 9:30 every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. I'm dialing because I do think protect your money-making activities. So as soon as I get into the office around this time or around 8 to 9, I'm dialing until noon, give or take. And then I'm going to go focus on some other pillar of the business because I like taking, breaks. I don't want to get burnt out because I'm dialing all day long. So dial till noon. And then for another hour or two, I'm probably marketing, like making a video, taking the phone out, hey, like trying to plot something or post a story or send DMs because I still send my DMs now. I need to hire somebody for that, to be honest. And then I go back to dialing until like probably 6 and then 6 to 8. Because I leave at 8, 6 to 8, I'm probably developing my guys, training them or listening to them dial while sending DMs at the same time. I have a DM goal. I try to send at least 50 to 100 DMs a day. But yeah, pretty simple. Just wake up, gym, dial, train, market, all the above.
And that's 6 days a week for those that are watching.
Yeah, 6 days a week, 8 to 8. That's my schedule, 8 to 8, but sometimes it's like 7:30. But
all right, now my favorite part, because I feel like you downplay this a little bit. Let's talk about the psychology of the sale, brother. I want you to walk people through intro to close. The floor is yours. Psychology of the sale. How do you position it? What are you saying? How are you pitching options? You can literally take them through. This is a master class, bro. So you could take them through and then
right on.
We're good to go.
Let's go. First thing,
too, bro.
I just want to know one thing for a new agent when it comes to my psychology to the sale is it's really all about clarity. They want to know you're not what today's crazy. Like these days, these years are crazy. Telemarketing, AI, scams, stuff like that. Clarity is everything. You want them to know right up front, like you're a human being. So I'm instantly just telling them who I am, but I'm so like kind of how I'm talking to you right now, Trey. I'm just super direct, dude, it's weird. I don't want to be weird when I say this, but like I don't try to sound like a beta. I don't try to sound like I'm unfamiliar with this. I try to sound so certain of who I am and that I'm a professional in my field that it's just like instantly they're like, yeah, I filled that out. Or yeah, how are you doing? Like they're asking me those questions because I'm very direct. So my process, you want me to just like do my intro, stuff like that, basically?
Yeah, you can literally just explain like how you think through the intro, then how you go. Do you do medical questions first?
Yeah.
Then like do you build value? Do you pitch why, etc. But you can take it however you want, bro. Just give them the sauce you got.
But obviously clarity, like I mentioned, but two, you want them value. I'm instantly going right into the value. As soon as I tell them who I am, I ask them how their day's going. And most of the time they ask me it back because like I try to build that rapport immediately. Nothing too crazy, but just like, how's it going? And then immediately we're talking about, I'm blanking again. Oh, value. Sorry. I'm instantly going into the value. Like, hey, brother, what had you motivated to send this in? Was it burial expenses or just looking to leave some money behind? And I obviously insert a lot of pauses as well. I'm a big Jeremy Miner fan. He's a sales trainer. I like to listen to him. He's pretty good, but he's big on like inserting pauses because just so you guys know, when you pause on something, it's because you're emphasizing that it's important. So, and with my every question, everything that I say ends with a question. And I'm not backing them into a corner. I'm always giving them an option because if you give them an option and you ask a question, they're going to pick one of them. If I just say, what was your main concern? Half the time they're going to be like, what do you mean? I don't have any, like, or none. Like, what are we talking about? So you got to guide them. I mean, that's right there. I could leave it there when I say you just got to guide them. That's really all I need to say as far as the philosophy of the sale. These people are raising their hand and I understand that. Like they're raising their hand saying, I need life insurance. That's why I filled it out. So I actually take a lot of pride in that fact. A lot of people forget that. You're not dialing the president. You're not dialing anybody. I don't want to say disrespect any like veteran league because that's what I run, but like you're not dialing anybody important. They're important, right? But like they haven't achieved anything of substance. Why are we scared and timid? That's my approach. I'm just like, hey man, I'm the professional, I'm the doctor, you're the patient. And I know right away when it comes to building value, it's so important because if I just go in and prescribe the medication as a doctor, that makes no sense. I got to go in and ask the right questions that helps me diagnose what it is that you need as a solution. So that's how I treat my sales call. I'm saying, hey man, what's the main concern for you? Just the burial, or were you just wanting to leave some extra love money behind? Burial, okay, I got you. I mean, do you have anything in place right now? No. And if they don't have anything in place, it's such a laydown, man. You build the value. You build the value on what it looks like if you pass away with no coverage in place. And here's where people, I think, get it wrong. You put them under a spotlight like an investigator, and you're asking them such weird questions. Like maybe ask with a final expense lead. Maybe I think these questions got to stop. Where you're like, I mean, if something happens to you, does your family have to go get a GoFundMe? I mean, you sounds like such a salesman when you talk like that. I'm just a big believer in straight to the point. I keep it on a straight line. I hit certain bullet points in my roadmap that I have internally in my head. I don't have a script nearby or anything like that. I have an internal roadmap. And if I just check all those off, I know I'm doing the right things, at least most of the time. I mean, I try not to get off track. And it's usually a sale. It is because and there's people that are like, yeah, I didn't fill that out. Yeah, I'm not interested, whatever. But if you can build the value as far as why did you send this in and try to diagnose the problem, because everybody has a problem. That is why they filled it out, and not listen to the smoke screens, because everybody gets smoke screens. If you get a smoke screen in the first half of the call and you let's say you get I'm busy smoke screen, and you're like, okay, when can I call you back? And you set the appointment, you're not using your brain. You got to genuinely got to understand it's a smoke screen. What is a smoke screen? They're putting the smoke up right in front of you because you sound salesy. You're the fifth guy that's probably called them, and you sound just like that fifth guy, or you sound just like the five guys that's called them. So I try to build clarity in the fact that hey, I'm a human. I'm calling you because you raised your hand about filling this form out about the life insurance, but I am making sure that they know it's about veterans life insurance, not about Medicare, not about cars. Nothing. They need to know what it's for basically immediately, I think. And that's what I preach for my new agents, is that they know who you are in the first 5 to 10 seconds of the call and why you're calling. After that, just go right into the value. After the value, assuming you've built enough, is simple from there. They've sold themselves. If you ask the right questions, they're pouring into you. You're not even talking. They're explaining why they filled it out, what it looks like without it, if their family can afford it, stuff like that. And then you're getting right into health. You're getting the budget. You're establishing the budget. That way you're not price gauging. You got to ask that in the right way as well. Hey, I'm a broker. I work with every company in the state. So I can give you 1,000 options, but just so I know where to start, what were you wanting to keep something like this under on a monthly? So just asking the right questions, getting the budget, and trying to build as much resistance as possible and getting them to pick an option confidently, you will have a closing ratio of 50 to 75% of the people that choose an option. I'm not saying of the people that pick up the phone, that'd be insane. But I'm confident if I focus on those things, my closing rate will be drop dead, worst case scenario, 50%, probably 75% of those that pick an option. If I feel internally I checked off all the boxes on my roadmap. What is the roadmap? It's obviously clarity. Let them know who you are right immediately. Value, and that's where the money is made, is in the value, because life insurance sells itself. Your job is to help them understand why they actually need it. Go right to price. You don't need to describe what life insurance does, cash value, living benefits. Obviously, briefly say it if they ask about it, but that's not where the money's made. The money's made in helping them understand the problem. Everybody buys. We're all obsessed with buying. Trey, you probably bought some piece of clothing in the last week. I don't know, but everybody is obsessed with buying, and it's very, very easy to get somebody to buy if you build the value and you get them to explain to you why they want it, and it's making it make sense. Presenting them the right numbers. And so that's kind of my process, man. It's super simple.
No, dude, I love it, bro. I love it, bro. And I think it's super important for people to understand that your process is simple, your routine is simple, which is the reason why you're successful, because simple does scale. And a lot of times trying to overcomplicate things, adding a bunch of extra, dumb questions on the value building rather than just giving them close-ended options is where you're gonna, hurt yourself. And I mean, you understand that and you obviously apply that. So
yeah,
dude, that's great. So we'll kind of wrap up here. My question to you though is there anything that you want to share? If you were to talk to yourself when you first started with what you know now, right? Because there are going to be agents that watch this because they see you crushing it. They're like, oh, I wanted to know what's his process. You obviously went through all that, but the floor is yours to kind of wrap us up, bro. Like, is there anything you want to share with new agents, or maybe even if you were speaking to your older self, or yeah, when you first started, that would be useful for them if they're trying to, crack their first 40, 50K month?
That's a great question, man. I think everybody that is facing, because everybody will hit a rut, and everybody's going to hit that number where they're like, all right, I've been here for a minute. How can I get to that 40 and 50? And for me, without explaining everything that I just mentioned, because I think a lot of that has to do with it, obviously get better, obviously buy leads, but I think you have to try to build. I think if I have an agent that's struggling and they don't have that much money in leads, I've already monetarily poured into them and they're in a rut and it's like we're not getting anywhere, like recruiting's free, building a team is free. And I tell you what the best type of pressure is when your back is against the wall. Like you're in a bad position, good. Like honestly, what a blessing. Like now it's how can we get out of this? And with recruiting, there's no better pressure than bringing somebody that you either know or just like recruiting somebody and trying to prove to them that you're somebody that they could take advice from, that you're somebody that you can that they can accept mentorship from. Because I'll tell you, if my upline didn't sell and he was lazy, he was just somebody that I couldn't trust, I'm just not going to him for advice. We're not going to have that relationship and I'm just going to outgrow them. So for me, because I've been there at times, and a big part of my reason for going from 20K a month, my first 2 months, to 50 in my third is because I brought on a friend. Like I brought on one of my buddies I played football with in high school. He was a rival school, and I brought him into the business, and instantly my mindset was like, to him, he knows I'm brand new. I'm only putting up 20K, which first 2 months, like that's not bad. Definitely not great. But my mindset was like, I need to prove to this guy, Kendall. I don't know. You probably met Kendall. I
Yeah.
need to prove to Kendall that like I'm somebody he could take advice from. I want to lead from the front. And if you could just have that demeanor that, because when you recruit somebody, you're signing like a invisible contract that you're going to be the best salesman, you're going to be the best marketer, you're going to be the best recruiter in your hierarchy. Like that's what you sign internally. It's an invisible contract, right? You're not actually signing anything. But for me, I signed an invisible contract that I'm going to be the best recruiter. I'm going to be the best marketer. I'm going to be the best salesman in my agency of the team that I'm building. So if you can have that belief and you have a dog right next to you that you just recruited, he actually, like Kendall, he sold 40 grand in July. Well, it might have been June. It was June or July. It was a month I IP'd 71. He was at like 40 or something like that. If you just have that's another thing. If you just have a running mate, you got to have a running mate in this business, because if it's you versus you, it's like you're only going to go so far. If nothing's pushing you, if you don't have a carrot being dangled right in front of you, to me, I think not only in sales, but in business, it's very hard to grow. You get very complacent over time. So, and here's the thing, man, if you are making, let's say you IP 20, 30, 35, like you're making way more money than you did before this, I'm assuming, depending on what you came from. It's probably a complacent place to be when you make 17 to 20 grand a month, 25. Like that's a complacent place to be. But I just don't, I'm not okay with that mindset though, Trey. Like I think for everybody, if you're at that spot, look in other agencies. Look at me, look at Marcos, look at people that are submitting or writing 70 to 100 grand a month. Like you're not anywhere yet. Like, how are you okay with that? If that's what you're okay with, you're never going to grow a big business. So looking at myself, as if I was talking to myself as I just came into the business with what I know now, it's just never stop building and to have a running mate from day one. I mean, my first couple months, it was really me versus me. I wanted to prove to myself, and I wanted to prove to haters back at home that genuinely don't care. Like they don't care, they're not watching. So just you just got to go. You just got to start. And so that'd probably be my advice.
Yeah, dude, 100%, bro. Well, dude, thank you, bro. Like you came
Yeah.
out here and you blessed the stage. I know there ain't nobody here watching right now, but I promise you they will. Dude, you gave a lot of value, man. So it was great talking to you. For
So,
those that are watching, if you do want to get in contact with Johnny, he is building a team. If you'd be interested, definitely reach out to whoever sent you this video or your dedicated rep. We will make sure we get you in contact. He's scaling and growing. As you can hear, he got 40K producers popping out left and right. You know what I mean? So they're definitely open to doing business with anybody. So outside of that, we will see you guys next time. Thank you all for hopping on. Appreciate you.